Today we're going to talk about English language learners and assessing them. But first, English language learners are students who came from a different country and are now working to become proficient in the English language. Every English language learner is at a different point in their proficiency, no matter what their age is. We use 4 different areas for assessing: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. We use these so that we assess students so we can eventually move them from being an ELL to a fluent English proficient student. There are 2 different kinds of assessments that are used for students: informal and formal assessments. Informal happens during the learning and formal assessments happen after. So pop quizzes, and for informal is listening in on conversations. Some may say that speaking is one of the easier skills to teach, but difficult to assess. There are 3 main areas of speaking to pay attention to, and those are pronunciation, fluency, and accuracy. Pronunciation is the act of producing sounds of speech that also includes articulation, stress, and intonation. Poor pronunciation can cause comprehension problems for listeners. We as teachers need to pay attention to whether or not a student's accent makes it hard to understand them. Fluency is how much language a student can speak in a time span. Students who may have trouble with this may speak slowly, pause frequently, use the wrong words, or use very simple childlike language. Fluency does not improve at the same rate as other skills. Accuracy is exactly what we may think it is. It focuses on whether the language used is correct or not. This area also goes back to pronunciation, along with grammar and vocab. When assessing accuracy, listen for the grammatical structures and vocabulary that you have already taught them. Vocabulary is a body of words used in a particular language. There are 2 different banks of words that a student may have: vocabulary comprehension and vocabulary production. Students may know the meaning of words, but are still having trouble putting them in own sentences. Communication is the student's ability to share their ideas. Students can express themselves in nonverbal ways, but are still improving their communication skills. This is where students can show their creativeness to get their points across, such as through body movements and gestures. Interaction is the ability to interact with others during communicative tasks. This area does involve listening, as they have to listen to their peers to keep the conversation going. This is where we will observe students on how they communicate with others. We don't want to rely only on tests. Tests cause anxiety for all, but when ELLs are having to take a test, they feel even more nervous because they have to comprehend test questions accurately. Tests also only measure what students can memorize or recall. One of the ways to assess is through rubrics and checklists. Checklists help us determine what exactly we want to see, and rubrics show us where they are in their skill development. Teachers should create their own rubrics and checklists since they are based on teachers' judgment. Rubrics include 3 sections: grammar and vocabulary, interesting detailed answers, and quality of questions. When creating a rubric for grammar and vocab, only include those that we have already studied. And also when explaining the rubric, give good and bad examples of what you're looking for. The other 2 sections of the rubric are detailed answers and question quality, which both incorporate listening, as the question quality involves listening to a partner and asking follow-up questions. It's also expected that the student could add an extra detail or 2, depending on their level. Oral presentations can include role-playing, interviews, oral reports, and summarizing parts of a story. When grading these, it would be best to use a checklist so you can look at specific skills, such as pronunciation, volume, pace, and also content knowledge. Role-playing is an example of an oral presentation. These can be used to assess individual students or groups of students. Through role-playing, students get the practice speaking and gain experience to using language in a variety of real-world situations. Learning songs in English can be an enjoyable way to learn English and can help master the proper intonation of words and phrases. A way to modify these songs is to either project the lyrics or include pictures and gestures that can provide support. Minimal pairs are words or phrases that differ by only one phoneme. Allowing students to see pictures of words and state what they are can help discriminate them. This activity is typically only used for students who have persistent pronunciation errors. Portfolios are collections of student work samples that help track their development over time. When creating students' portfolios, make sure to include work samples that reflect their growth and goals that were created by you, both of you 2 together, and or individually by the student. These are pictures of myself as a child. These 2 both involved me speaking in front of the class, and this was role-playing for 3 little pigs. So that was my portfolio, kind of. Thank you. Ow.